in a full and complete collaborative effort. Based upon the information we gathered that was provided from my review, which included being out at the crime scene itself for hours yesterday, being walked through various aspects at the scene, which included also a review of body-worn camera footage, a review of dash cam footage, personally having a chance to see where there were various items of ballistics, physical evidence, and unfortunately, the location of our fallen officers. Based upon this review of information, I will go ahead and deliver an initial finding of fact. This is an initial one. There are many steps that need to be completed as part of this investigation. And there are many questions that I will not answer for you at this time because the investigation is ongoing. And there will be a second briefing once all of that information comes back and is complete. Those of you who know how we operate know that is what we do. We speak with what we can when we can, but we will not go ahead and state or confirm anything that would be remotely incomplete and not decisive. So, what do we have here? Well, first off, Matthew J. Ruth, he is the actor. And this is the only time I will mention his name. After this, he will only be referred to as actor. What occurred begins actually on September 16th at approximately 11:23 p.m., and we must start there, because this began as an incident of domestic violence. There was a call that came in from the mother of his ex-girlfriend that the actor was spotted on her property with binoculars looking through the residence, looking through a window. The mother of the ex-girlfriend advised that it was a white male wearing camouflage, and she could see him through a trail camera that was standing in her driveway. And while en route to the location, the mother of the ex-girlfriend advised that the male possibly came there in a black truck that was parked on Emig Road around the corner from the residence at 1879 Hare Road. Officers responded, and upon initial arrival to the property, they did not locate the male. They went to Emig Road and did observe the black 2000 Ford Ranger pickup truck parked along the road in the woods line. It was unoccupied, and then officers went back to the residence and spoke with both the ex-girlfriend of the actor and the mother of the actor. And the ex-girlfriend of the actor had advised that on 8/20 of 2025, an unknown person set her pickup truck on fire while it sat in her driveway. She advised that at the time she suspected that it was her ex-boyfriend who was the culprit, but she wasn't sure, so she requested that the matter not be investigated further. The ex-girlfriend then showed a still photo from the trail camera, and what it showed was a white male wearing all camouflage outfit, standing behind the ex-girlfriend's truck in the driveway. And the male is looking through a scope device with it pointed towards the residence. The ex-girlfriend identified the male in the photo as the actor, and she advised that they put the trail camera up after the incident on August 20th of 2025. The ex-girlfriend confirmed that the actor was, in fact, her ex-boyfriend, and she suspected again that he was involved in the incident of setting her vehicle on fire. She stated that they had dated for only a short period of time and that the actor had never been to her house nor had ever been invited there. The ex-girlfriend also advised that the actor owned and often drove a 2000 black Ford Ranger pickup truck. And when they were reviewing the photo, the officers noticed that the actor had an AR-15 style rifle slung across his chest while looking into the residence. The officers then proceeded over the next several hours, which included assistance as well from the York County Sheriff's Department through the use of their drone, to attempt to locate the actor. They could not find him, despite searching over the next several hours. A warrant was sworn out for the actor's arrest, and the charges in that matter included stalking and loitering and prowling at night. The next morning, detectives from the Northern York County Regional Police Department attempted to go ahead and locate and execute a search warrant on the known residence of the actor. Included in executing that search were 3 detectives: Detective Sergeant Cody Becker, Detective Mark Baker, and Detective Isaiah Emenheiser. 2 other detectives also participated in this search. They arrived at the actor's residence and communicated with his family at 12:11 p.m. They left the residence, having interviewed family and having conducted search at 1:23 p.m. At 2:02 p.m., Detective Sergeant Becker, Detective Baker, Detective Emenheiser, and 2 other Northern Regional detectives arrived on scene at 1879 Hare Road, the location of the incident the previous evening. They arrived and they were searching for the actor. Also accompanying them to assist was a deputy sheriff from the York County Sheriff's Department to again assist with drone action and finding individuals through the usage of a drone. The search went on for the actor, which included various outbuildings, and the drone was being employed to also check neighboring fields. During the course of this search, detectives went to the front door of the residence. They arrived at the door at 2:08 p.m. The initial officer who went to the door was Detective Emenheiser. Right behind him was Detective Baker. Following as well was Detective Sergeant Becker and another Northern York County Regional detective. Final detective remained behind as more of a perimeter view in looking out for the actor and securing the perimeter. Detective Emenheiser discovered that the door was unlocked. Having remembered that the door was left locked by the ex-girlfriend and mother who were not at the residence because they went somewhere else for their safety, they decided that they were going to go in. The door was opened, and upon immediately opening the door, the actor repeatedly fired at the officers with multiple rounds from an AR-15 styled rifle with a suppressor, immediately striking Detective Baker, striking Detective Sergeant Becker, striking at Detective Emenheiser, who he and the other Northern York County Regional detective who were there closest to the house, as they tried to go back for cover position, he repeatedly fired upon them. All 4 detectives went down. The actor then proceeded to turn his attention to the deputy sheriff. The deputy sheriff and the other Northern York County Regional Detective began to position themselves to return fire. The Northern York County Regional Detective repeatedly fired at the actor. The actor did strike the deputy sheriff, who was by his vehicle, and also struck the vehicle. The deputy sheriff did himself remove his 9mm. The Northern York County Regional Detective was firing at the actor with his AR-15 style rifle. The actor repeatedly was firing his rifle at the deputy sheriff, striking him. The deputy sheriff went down and went to try to retrieve his rifle and go for safety, as well to take cover to return fire. The actor went up towards the roadway where the vehicles were to engage in fire with the deputy sheriff, continuing to fire at him. The deputy sheriff returned fire with his 9mm handgun. The Northern York County Regional Detective also was returning fire with his rifle. While up at the roadway, when the actor was there was a final exchange of gunfire. After that exchange, the actor went down. The actor became deceased. Following this, the Northern York County Regional Detective immediately went to see about rendering aid. He immediately went down first to his fallen officers from Northern York County Regional Police Department by the house and discovered detectives that were non-responsive. Detective Sergeant Cody Becker, Detective Mark Baker, and Detective Isaiah Emenheiser were all killed following the brutal ambush that was committed upon them by the actor. The final Northern York County Regional Detective was critically wounded. The other Northern York County Regional Detective immediately began to render aid, as he also called out to have responses from other law enforcement and other emergency responders. After rendering aid there, he realized that the deputy sheriff was also critically injured. The detective for the Northern York County Regional Police Department responded to the deputy sheriff and immediately began rendering aid to him as well. From the time period when the detectives arrived at the front door preparing to enter to when the shooting stopped, they arrived at the front door at 2:08 p.m. All shooting had stopped by 2:10 p.m. and 16 seconds. At 2:14 p.m., the first additional officer arrives, another member of the Northern York County Regional Police Department. The detective rendering aid to the deputy sheriff requests that the other Northern York County Regional officer go over and place handcuffs upon the actor, not knowing his full status at that point. That was done so. And then numerous other law enforcement agencies and emergency personnel came to the scene to assist and render aid. The Pennsylvania State Police, as mentioned previously, took over lead in the investigation assisted by our county detectives. Numerous law enforcement agencies came to help to secure the scene, help with any rescue efforts. And when I say numerous, I can't tell you how proud I am of every single law enforcement officer in this whole county. They all came from everywhere to be there to help in any way they could. A search of the scene revealed numerous locations of various ballistics evidence that in a future briefing we will be able to catalog to go ahead and explain what it is following ballistics testing and following other information. Needless to say, at this point in time, from what I was able to observe on scene as shown and explained to me by the investigators, it corroborates fully what we have just stated and also shown through visual and also through other interviews. Inside the house, besides discovering the initial casings from where the actor began his barrage of murderous activity, they also discovered in the basement that he had killed the black Labrador that was owned by his ex-girlfriend's mother, shot one time. We are currently investigating further aspects of motive. So we will not speculate on the full profile of the actor. Numerous other search warrants have been executed. Other things are being analyzed. There is one motive, though, that is clear for everything, and that is the hateful scourge of domestic violence. That is what brought us here. That is what brought law enforcement here. That is what started all the activity. The whole sequelae is there. And yes, thanks to the actions of the Northern York County Regional Police Department, supported by the York County Sheriff's Department, we have 2 lives of the residents there that are saved today. Because make no mistake about it, and this I can conclude by all reasonable inferences from all information without speculation, had they arrived home and not Northern Regional Police Department officers arrived, they would have been killed immediately by the actor. Again, that is not speculation. That is the absolute only reasonable inference from all actions. The detective from Northern Regional who was injured was, of course, rushed to York Hospital, as you all know, taken into surgeries, was critical but stable. The same is for the deputy sheriff from the York County Sheriff's Department. We are very blessed and thankful that they are stable. In terms of some legal aspects, one of the things that I wanted to make clear of right now, although it be crystal clear and obvious to any human being on the planet, but just to make sure that this is articulated legally, all actions by law enforcement were justified. They weren't only justified, they were necessary. And we are so thankful and appreciative to them, and especially our Northern York County Regional Detective who fired the last shot and who rendered the aid. I can't imagine the strength and the fortitude that it takes to immediately, after having seen and been engaged in that, and going down to see what you observe, to be immediately thinking of rendering critical aid and engaging in life-saving action. He saved many lives that day. If the actor was not eliminated and his threat and murderous rampage eliminated, who knows where this would have stopped. Detective Sergeant Cody Becker, Detective Mark Baker, and Detective Isaiah Emenheiser were all credits to law enforcement. I personally knew them very, very well. They were wonderful. They were mission-driven, and that day they continued their mission. Well, their mission is now complete. You kept the faith. You ran the race. You fought more than a good fight. You fought the critical fight for us. Job well done. Mission well served. And we will love you forever and all eternity. Final comment I want to make is about York County. This is my home. This is our home. We've gone through a lot this year. We've been at podiums like this too many times. And when you go through that, when you go through these sorts of things, it can seem very, very dark and dire. And you can begin to lose faith and hope. And I'm going to tell you, last night, there were a lot of us feeling that way, and I personally was too. And then when I left the scene and went over to the coroner's office when I was in the procession, and we're going down the roadways, and all you saw all along those roadways were members of our community. And they were standing there in the rain for hours to watch our law enforcement, standing there, the old, the young, families, children, waving American flags, waving flags and holding signs saying, "Back the blue," showing their love and appreciation for law enforcement. And all I could think is, there's the light. There's Christ's light that drives out Satan's darkness. We are a great community. We are a safe community. We are a loving community. We are there for each other, and we need to be together to be love and light, and we will demolish hate and darkness by doing so. And by God, with every fiber of our beings, we will do that. This county will always be there for our law enforcement. And our law enforcement will always be there to protect and serve you. God bless you, York County, all that you are, all that you stand for. And we are so proud to serve you every moment of every day. With that, I'm going to ask my dear friend, Dave Sunday, to speak. And before I do, I want to mention something special about him. Yes, he's our Attorney General, and yes, he was the former DA. But he plays a more critical role in our lives, and in my life in particular. He's one of the best friends I have. And he came to the scene last night, not to be Attorney General, not to be a politician, not to even go ahead and be extra law enforcement. He came there at my request because we needed his friendship and love. And you know what in life? That's more important than anything else. And more important than calling him my former colleague, my former boss, and our Attorney General. I call him my friend. So, my friend, if you'd like to say a couple words.
One moment. Good afternoon. After tragedies like this, we often look for reasons to explain unreasonable and unexplainable events, but oftentimes none come. Yesterday, 3 families received the call that law enforcement families fear each and every single day. They may not always talk about it or acknowledge it, but that fear is always there and very, very real. The fear that their father or their mother, husband or wife, beloved partner will not be returning home. I pray for the families who are dealing with unfathomable loss, and our hearts remain with the 2 families who received a call about their loved ones being seriously injured, and we pray for their recovery. This law enforcement community needs us right now. These families need us. The police departments, York County and the Commonwealth needs everyone to respond with grace, with love, with support, and yes, prayer. Police officers do not ask for awards, accolades, or attention. But the truth is, every single day, they're standing up for their communities, for many people who they have never met before, and putting their lives on the line. Many of us have been in a position where there's been an emergency in our lives, and we've needed help. And we've had to call 911, and the police come. And they oftentimes can fix a situation. They can make you feel better. They can take care of you. And after that's over, they leave. And as a family, you may come together and say, thank God we got through that. We're okay. But those police officers move on to the very next call. And then they move on to the very next call. Every day, every week, every month, for years, decades sometimes. And they don't have the luxury of taking a break and saying, you know what, we took care of that one, we took care of that family, we're fine. And this kind of detail in particular, when you're talking about a warrant, is some of the most absolute dangerous work our police officers do, because they never know exactly what they'll encounter. The officers involved with this incident went to a home to protect a woman and her children. They encountered a force of evil, hell-bent on taking lives. Think about that. Think about what these officers went through. And I ask, do police officers not deserve the full embrace and support of society? Being a police officer means kissing your spouse or partner and children goodbye every single morning or afternoon, depending on your shift, and heading off to a job where you have no idea what you're going to run into that day and what will be required of you. Our police officers today are so much more than law enforcement officials. They're social workers, mental health professionals, counselors, crisis interventionists, child care workers. And they have the bright light of public opinion and judgment shining on them every single day. But yet they perform their duties without hesitation, true to their oath to protect and serve. Yesterday, 3 brave officers gave their lives to fulfill their duties. In the midst of that gunfire, their mission expanded from protecting a family to saving one another, and those actions saved lives. Without committed, qualified police officers, any and every community in our nation is susceptible to lawlessness and disorder. Families and children are vulnerable. Our older residents are vulnerable. Who's going to hold the line between a free society and lawlessness? Well, we all can play a role. I've heard it said before that more and more we have come to expect less and less from each other. Looking around our world, it's hard to argue with that. Society has become programmed to devalue human life. Perhaps it's social media or the news environment that thrives on outrage, or the loss of in-person connections and relationships. But that doesn't mean that we have to accept it. We have to get past the attitude that we are not each other's keeper. Step away from the keyboard and talk to a stranger, talk to a neighbor. Find a place to lend a hand. If we can't get beyond that attitude of selfishness for the sake of our society, then do it for the sake of these men, these heroes and their families. As one of Pennsylvania's most famous and favorite sons, Fred Rogers once said, "Look for the helpers." I implore us all to not only seek out the helpers, but support and empower them, emulate them. Again, the answers we seek, the logic or reasoning to explain how such a horrible, unimaginable tragedy can happen, they are hard to come by. So let's not rely on answers and instead take action. Not all of us swear the oath to protect and serve. Not all of us put on a uniform, but we are all capable of being the unrelenting force that overcomes evil. And I think we are. Late last night, after spending the evening at the scene of this horrific crime with our fallen heroes, my friends that were partners when I served as a district attorney, we made a very sad journey with their bodies to York. The rain was falling as if God himself was mourning with us. As I looked outside my vehicle window, lining each rural road, outside each home, standing in the rain were our fellow York Countyans, with American flags, holding a vigil for these men and honoring their sacrifices. I want everyone to know how important that was to the police officers and the law enforcement community of York County. It was so important to each of us who knew these men and considered them friends. That is the humanity that we need in this moment and in our world. Thank you. May God bless and keep these men and their families, and may he protect the men and women in law enforcement every single day. Thank you. Pennsylvania State Police Commissioner Chris Paris.
I would just simply like to say, again, on behalf of the Pennsylvania State Police, we stand with law enforcement in York County and all across the Commonwealth. We will continue to provide any and all resources at our disposal to ensure that the investigation is completed. The district attorney here in York County, our Attorney General, as well as the Northern York County Regional Police Department and the York County Sheriff's Department, I will say from a perspective of a police executive, they are a credit to law enforcement, the diligence with which they carried out this investigation from its onset, and the way that they doggedly and methodically did what they had to do in order to preserve life and seek justice is something that I know all people in York County and all people across the Commonwealth should be very proud. So we continue to support law enforcement services here. We will continue to do so. Our members' assistance people will be here with the Sheriff's Office as well as the Northern York County Regional Police. There are recovery support services that will have to be dealt with for the injured. There are line-of-duty funerals that have to be planned, and we stand with them and will support them today and every day forward. Thank you very much.
I stand here today to tell you the obvious. Our office is grieving. Our community is grieving. Our fellow men and brothers and sisters in blue are grieving. But what I can tell you, the only way we're going to get through this is prayer. And the support and the overwhelming support from our community, our law enforcement brothers and sisters, helps us to get through this. What I'd ask you to do is pray for my fellow colleague, Dave Lash. 3 of his men paid the ultimate sacrifice. And our condolences go out to you and your family members and to your support staff, because truly without them, we are nothing. They support us every day. I see them over there grieving. I would ask you to go home and pray. And with God's grace, we'll get through this. And pray for one of my officers that are now in surgery comes through. Appreciate the public support. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Dave Lash. I'm the Chief of Police of the Northern York County Regional Police Department. Yesterday was a dark day for the Northern York County Regional Police Department and for all of York County and our communities. We are mourning the loss of 3 of our officers, and we continue to pray for the recovery of our 4th and also for the recovery of the York County Sheriff's Deputy. I want to take a moment to recognize the 3 officers we lost: Sergeant Cody Becker, Detective Mark Baker, and Detective Isaiah Emmenheiser. Each of these men represented the very best of policing. They served with professionalism, dedication, and courage. They were leaders within our agency, committed to protecting this community and standing beside their fellow officers. Unfortunately, their deaths are the stark reminder of the risks law enforcement officers accept every day. They knowingly place themselves in harm's way to keep others safe. For that, we are forever indebted to them and their families. Currently, our administrative offices are closed, and police coverage in our municipalities is being provided by neighboring departments and the Pennsylvania State Police. We are grateful for their immediate support in helping us maintain public safety while our department works through this tragedy. The Northern York County Regional Police Department will return to patrol operations tomorrow on Friday, September 19th at 1900 hours. Until then, our partners will continue to ensure uninterrupted police service in our communities. We know the community wants to help, and an official endorsed donation portal will be announced shortly. This will ensure that all contributions go directly to the families of our fallen and injured officers. On behalf of the Northern York County Regional Police Department, I want to thank the community, our law enforcement partners, our elected officials, for their overwhelming outpouring of support. While nothing can erase the pain of this loss, your strength and compassion will help us and the families of Sergeant Cody Becker, Detective Mark Baker, and Detective Isaiah Emmenheiser as we move forward through the difficult days ahead. Thank you.
That concludes the comments that we came here today to make to everyone. I will be willing to take just a couple of questions, and the reason why I say that, those of you who are familiar with what we do in these circumstances, there will be a complete and full briefing in the future when the investigation is complete. There are many questions that we will not answer today because there is testing that is occurring. There is still information being reviewed and gathered, and we will not make speculative comments in that way. But we will answer a couple, but only a couple. Yes, sir.
Do you know if the assailant legally acquired his AR-15? How did he acquire the AR-15? Did you know about how many rounds he fired with the AR-15 in that 2-minute period?
So we do have, so I'll say it this way. We do know what the background is that we are checking on for his ballistics purchases. That's part of the ongoing investigation, and we will be revealing that in the future as part of the briefing as those details are coming in. Second aspect, if you're wondering, is he a person not to possess a firearm? Based upon our information, we could not find any prior criminal convictions that would go ahead and make him a person not to possess a firearm. Regarding the regarding any issues with the quantity of ballistics, the only thing that I'll say at this time, a count was being done, but you have to go ahead and determine from which firearm something was discharged. There are methodologies for doing that. We are engaging in those ballistics aspects. So at this time, the only thing I will say generally is he fired many and multiple rounds, because to go more specific could lead to a misstatement of fact, and I will not do that.
Were any of the weapons found inside the search of his home, and who was he living with in that home?
I have not disclosed that. First of all, I have not disclosed who he's living with because out of their privacy interests. Second, all of the aspects of the secondary search that is ongoing, those items are being cataloged and are being reviewed. They'll be part of a further briefing in the future, but I am very sensitive to the privacy interests of non-involved individuals as part of an incident, including, as you'll notice, the only names that were mentioned, one mention of the actor, and the names, of course, of our fallen officers. That is out of respect to their privacy interests. But in the future, with the briefing regarding that question, we will be going into detail of a cataloging of background aspects of this individual. So, as I stated previously, and I'll just repeat this one more time, at 2:08 p.m., the officers were at the front door of the residence, what we are designating as the front door of the residence. The actor was just inside the door. When the door opened is when he began to fire.
How did he enter?
What's that?
How did he enter the home?
I'm sorry, you got to speak loud.
How did he get access into the home?
So that is under investigation and review as well. They were conducting a more thorough search of the house, looking for those aspects. One thing we do know about him from what we were able to reveal at this point with full confidence and certainty is he carefully surveilled the entire residence and the outbuilding areas. So what methodology he used is still under investigation. To gain the access at this point in time, the only thing with 100% certainty that is appropriate for me to state is he did in fact gain access, had been inside, was armed, and did discharge his firearm from inside of there, and in fact also killed, like I mentioned, the family dog.
Sir, can you tell how long before 2:08 he may have been in the house?
So the only thing I will say at this point is in the house before 2:02 p.m. We know that he was not at his residence as of the police leaving at 1:23 p.m. In terms of the actually being inside the residence, from where he filed the fatal shots of his ex-girlfriend and her mother, that residence, that is still under investigation to see if we have clues of a tighter timeline than when police left in the early morning hours of the previous evening to the time of 2:02 p.m.
The first officer, the fifth officer, I take it he was not harmed in any way, and to put a finer point on it, you believe that he fired a fatal shot that killed the suspect, is that correct?
So what I'm going to say at this point, first of all, he did not suffer injury, physical injury he did not suffer. The trauma of an incident like this is unimaginable, but he did not suffer physical injury. Concerning the exact wound locations, ballistic aspects, all the things that will go into those evaluations, the reason why I do not want to comment on any of those matters at this time is, first of all, we have autopsies that are pending. They're occurring Friday and Saturday. There will be autopsy reports. And then there will be ballistic reviews. And I want to make sure that the next time I come before you, that I am able to state definitively what the order and aspects of the shots were from which weapon. So accordingly, that's why I am being resistant at this time. My statement of justification is blanket for every member of law enforcement, regardless what, where, whom, every single one of them, every action they took was 100% justified. But the specifics will be coming, but I must have those aspects of the investigation completed.
It could be self-inflicted.
What I have done at this time is I am waiting to go ahead and hear every aspect of the ballistics. There are many things that I do know. I do not commit to anything without having all information. So if I sound uncommittal, it's because every time that somebody says a comment of speculation, so many times it gets proven wrong, and then it leads to more harm than good. So I am only going to state that it was a final exchange of fire. We know that for a fact from the evidence that we have. Following the final exchange of fire, the actor became deceased. So I will leave it at that. You will know more in the future. I will take one more question because I know many of these questions will be the subject of the next briefing, and I hate having to repeatedly say this to all of you.
Knowing that the actor was potentially harmed, what precautions did your detectives and officers take in issuing a warrant for a potentially dangerous individual?
So they did get the arrest warrant, as I stated. They did a complete search of the whole area that night. They went over to the actor's home the next day. They made sure that the township police department of the area where he lived, that they were alerted. And these are plainclothes detectives, but they also do wear their bulletproof vests. They were equipped to go ahead and go into harm's way. But the unfortunate aspect is, given the nature of where, when, and how the ambush by the actor occurred, that there was no time for response. They did go ahead and proceed as you would expect law enforcement to proceed to try to protect our community. There was multiple communication. There was use of drones to try to go ahead and determine where he potentially could have been hiding. So yes, they were actively looking to protect the community. And additionally, I will add, as I stated before, the ex-girlfriend and mother who were directly in harm's way, they were not there. They were staying elsewhere. And they knew not to come back. And it was law enforcement who were the ones that went. It was our detectives from Northern York County Regional and our sheriff's deputy who went to make sure and see if they could provide ultimate safety. And rather than being able to provide ultimate safety, they wound up having to provide ultimate sacrifice.
Aside from the car fire potential, or were there any other threats made to this woman or her family that you're aware of?
I'm not going to go into anything beyond what was the previous affidavit of probable cause from which I was citing that contained the stalking allegations. There are further aspects from interviews that continue to be developed, but that is the last part of information I want to stick to from that aspect for right now, what is known, defined of public record, because it's very important to do so at this occasion. Thank you all very much for being here.
Chief, can you spell the names of the slain officers, please, and their ages?
Okay, thank you.
So you've been listening